So got it.
All right. Um, who wants to start?
Start with what?
Any questions about the mock jury?
I don't know about questions, but I got a compliment this afternoon from somebody that said that they really thought it was good.
Was that me? I texted you.
I never revealed my sources.
I really enjoyed it. And then I realized that maybe it was a do-over because something went wrong the first time, but I thought it was really good. I didn't submit anything, but I watched the whole thing and I thought it was excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, they did a good job. I have to admit.
And we were just honest, right? Right, Bonnie?
Yeah.
We were just being honest.
Constructive, very constructive, like really professional and constructive.
Good.
You know, they made a movie about me that's coming out this week.
I hate to ask.
I think that you don't want to get out of Florida when I see you.
You know, it's the one with Tom Hanks. They adapted it from I think it's Norwegian book, A Man Called Ovi, but and then they made a movie which was great. The movie was great. So they did an American version of it, A Man Called Otto, or Call Me Otto, something like that. And Tom Hanks plays the character. And that's me.
Cranky.
No, just
Somebody-
you know, there's things like, you can't counting change. I mean, come on, can't you count change? You go into stores and stuff like it's just all this stuff. It's America.
Somebody just asked, do we want you to unmute and ask questions? Yes, please.
Yeah. Don't mute
Unmute
yourself.
and ask whatever you'd like.
Yeah.
Just not all
Please.
at the same time.
Not all at the same time. I thought it'd be easier if it was all at the same time. All right, so because you said that you wanted us to tell you the last number so that you could know which one we are.
Yeah, you're
Maybe
26.
Yeah.
We need to see you.
Okay, we'll see how that
We
works.
don't need to see you, but we want to see you.
We'll attempt.
There you go.
Very good. Thank you. It's nice to see a picture.
That's right.
That way you see who's talking to you.
Yes.
Promise I'm not a coffee cup or anything like that. So I got that the last sentence wasn't very needed on my whatchamacallit, the artist statement.
Yes.
So that's nice.
I loved your work.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. This is my second year of doing art shows, so I'm
Wow.
having fun with it.
Oh,
Trying to make it a full-time thing.
you still have a chance to get out of it and go get your MBA and then get a real job somewhere.
Oh.
And then when you're our age, you could be retired.
I don't know about that. I mean, I was actually raised by two artists. So my mom did art shows for a while. My grandma did art shows for a while. So I think it's in the blood. I don't think I'm corporate material.
Okay, you've been warned.
So with my booth shot, I was seeing a couple other people still have like tables if they have like a table. So do you feel like it should have a print bin if we're actually like intending to bring a print bin, or should it be
Yes.
cleaner? Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, when you shoot your booth picture, back up a little and use a less wide perspective lens.
Yeah. It was with the cruddy cell phone cameras. So use the real camera. Got it.
Actually, you can do it with your phone, because that's how I did mine. It's just
me
put it
too.
in one. Don't go wide angle. Don't zoom out. Just
Okay.
the normal shot.
And since I'll be reshooting my booth shot probably in the next week so that I can get it out for new applications, would you still suggest to Photoshop in grass if there is no live grass kind of thing?
No.
Make it look non-distracting.
Okay. I could go with that. And then I was thinking about having it all be the printed on metal instead of metal and framed. Does that really matter, or
The presentation should be uniform.
okay?
But it should be what's actually going to be in your booth.
Yeah,
Surprisingly enough, the framed ones don't move so good. So it's okay to lose those ones if metal would do better. And then I'm planning on having more larger images because from what I've seen, that's doing better than the small ones. People want things behind their couch anyway. So I figure that's probably more of what we're going for. And then what were my other questions? Not sure if I have any. But there's nothing wrong with the order or images I sent in. I know that I've questioned the moon one just because it's not a Milky Way, but like, I guess it doesn't all need to be Milky Ways.
No, I love the order.
yeah, I like the
Love
moon
the moon
picture.
one.
It's difficult to see the detail in the other pictures.
Okay. Is there a way to fix that though?
Now,
Or just use closer ones if I have them?
well, yes,
Okay.
Well, keep in mind that that's not how juries are going to see your images like that.
Mhm.
You know, four across or whatever, and then the booth shot down below. They're going to see it one at a time.
oh,
You know,
well,
Okay.
monitor journeying is one at a time, but they're not large.
Well, you
Do they
can make,
generally tell you which way they do it?
They're 750 square, 750 pixels square.
okay, but I blow them up, if there's any question, I blow them up when I'm jurying to the size of my monitor.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
full
that's good.
size, each piece.
And I've got a big monitor.
Oh, look, Sharon's here.
Good.
Awesome. And then I think that's all the questions I have for now.
All right.
I found it very helpful though, and I really appreciate that you guys do this. Helps us newbies figure out what we're actually doing.
Well, I can't believe that you're a newbie and have that booth and those kinds of images.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
so
Went
much
to college,
fur-
so if that helps, that was my college thesis. So that's
but you're so much further along than people in it for much longer. So congratulations.
I'll thank my mom for that. She's definitely helped pave some of the road. Like that's why I have mesh panels. They're the same mesh panels she used like 20 years ago.
Excellent. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you so much.
All right. Anybody else?
I just like to say that I think the size of pictures and so on are going to depend on where you're selling. Because, well, my only show now really is Comic-Con, and the big pictures don't sell. And framed pictures do not sell that well because people are packing in their luggage. So they want, matted, bagged and matted, and usually something that'll fit into a standard frame, like 8x10, 11 by 14, I think is. And I think the biggest ones are like, one of the dimensions is 20 inches. Anything bigger than that does not sell. Unless it's somebody local coming in.
You can always offer to ship it for them.
People want to take it with them usually.
Oh,
Well, no, if you're selling big metal prints, the lab is drop shipping.
Oh, okay. Well, Comic-Con, you put up your stuff and that's it. So, but most people, they like to have stuff for their walls or whatever, but they have, theme going or whatever. They don't get one big thing for behind the couch. They tend to have a little gallery on their walls.
Okay. All right.
It sort of depends on your buyers.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
which shows you're trying to get into and doing and
Yeah.
all that fun stuff.
Okay. Any other questions about the jury? You can unmute yourself and talk.
And you can say anything.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Ian, what do you want to say?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, so jury number was 23 for this last one. I'm the map artist. Sorry if there's any background noise. I'm in a car right now, but not driving. So I think my art is maps, and I know last year, also actually my second year going into doing art shows, so like the last artist. And also thank you guys so much. My application is vastly better from having watched the mock jury about a year ago, and even just watching this one from some direct feedback I got online and also feedback from others. So start off with a big thank you to you all for putting in the time to do this. It's been incredibly helpful for me, and yeah, especially looking back at my original application. So yeah. But so last year I got into some shows. I didn't get into some or got waitlisted. And when I kind of asked for feedback from the director, point person at the art shows, where I heard back, the kind of common theme was that they were not, my scores were hurt because it was unclear.
Yeah.
I think some people don't consider what I do art, and that's fine. I'm not going to win them over necessarily. But some others, it seemed unclear that they thought that I was contributing, or unclear that like what I was actually doing to the pieces. So I have revamped my artist statement to hopefully make it a little bit more clear that I'm actually like creating these maps. They're not a reproduction or taken from National Geographic. So I guess, does my artist statement convey that fairly well, or are there other things that folks think could be changed to kind of describe what I'm doing? Sorry, that was really long-winded.
I don't know. You know what you're doing. But here's the thing. Read what they ask. To me, it's so simple. You read what because this is what they ask for. They want your technique, and they want what's the other thing they want?
Materials.
Materials.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing else. You know.
Well-
And so, you know, that's what I do.
Sharon had some good points on that. And I think we wanted you to start out with maps.
Totally.
Do you have were you able to listen to the mock jury?
Yes.
Did
Well,
you hear?
I was not able to listen to the original, so I watched the YouTube redo, and thank you all for doing that. And that was, yeah, I definitely heard Sharon say that, and
Okay,
liked that
so
change.
you heard what she recommended because it was really good. It's kind of hard, I think, for you to write a good artist statement that makes it clear in just a few words what in the heck you're doing.
Yeah, because I don't think people have an expectation of how these things are made. So I had like on other ones, I was like, I'm using GIS mapping applications and things that it's just like no one on a jury is going to understand that. And I talked to Larry before, and he said use just digital software there to make it clear that you're making digital maps. Yeah.
Hey,
I have
can
a question. I have a question. Do you draw them using the digital software?
I do a mix of using like GIS tools. So some are like looking at elevations, creating boundaries in part derived from like elevations, drainages, watersheds, and then also some drawing on the boundaries by hand. So it's a mix that way, which is part of what makes it complicated.
Yeah.
Hello, I don't know, is my mic on?
Yes.
Hi, Bonnie, thank you for the credit. This is Sharon. I just got out of the meeting I was in, so thanks for the credit for my comments. If I can make another one?
Sure.
So I think your work is brilliant. I think you also have.
Hey, I can't talk to you now.
Pardon me?
I can look in an hour.
Barry, be quiet.
I think you have a really big challenge. I'm not being discouraging, so don't take it that way. I've known some other artists who've started doing innovative things with their artwork. One of them was Michael Brown, who, if you know him, his work changes from sunny to summertime to wintertime as you walk by it. And he had a real struggle in the beginning with conveying that to the jury. He's been with us several times. He used to get horrible scores. Now he gets great scores. He changed the way his images looked in his artist statement. But I think you have some challenges because I didn't get in the beginning that they were maps. And as soon as I got that, I've been to most of these places that are in your images. Once I got that, I was like, oh my God, how cool is this? But until I got that, I was like, well, what are these? And I don't know what I'm going to score. So I think that artist statement is really critical. And I think we talked to in our mock jury about not making any point of the transfer onto wood, because I think that adds confusion.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And that gives me a couple more characters to talk about it, because the most, at least common number I have is 200 characters, which is, it's a very small number to try and describe something.
Yeah. And I think you said, Larry, about trying to get the jargon to be more like not GIS, but digital, to be more recognizable. The boundary thing, I understand all that, but to try to get a common denominator will understand that and how cool that is.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Someone another, I guess on the map point, somebody also said this in the chat. For the actual printouts I have titles that are printed on most of these maps, but when I've put stuff out there before, I've heard that there are issues with some juries about having text on the actual image. So if everyone agrees that I shouldn't label the first one with Crater Lake, the second one Mount Rainier, even if I'm going to print them out that way, do like in Zap, when you put in like descriptions and that kind of thing, will the jury see image one description or like title Crater Lake in a way that might help them link it as a map? Or would it be, I'm just trying to think otherwise to make it really clear what they are.
That would be great. In my opinion, it's not like putting your name on it.
Right on the artwork you're saying, Bonnie, and like in the white space?
Yeah. Then
reading anything slows the jury down.
So it takes the question out of these.
Can I ask you a question? When the customer go to your booth, if you don't, did they know what they're looking? If you don't say that they're maps, how did they describe it to you?
Sorry, could you say that again? You cut out for a second.
Like when a customer comes to your booth and they don't know their maps, they start looking at it, what they say about it. We know you send it. If you don't say to them their maps to them, what they think they are.
I get a lot of people who come into my booth, and I have one or two that are a little bit more explicitly titled, and I think that helps people understand what they are coming in the booth. But I get the comment a lot from folks who are like, hey, like I was 20 feet away and I thought these were like pictures of jellyfish or anemones or lichens or some other thing along those lines. And then I realized that they're maps. Or people who come in and are just like, so what exactly am I looking at here? But in the booth, almost all of the pieces are titled with what they're a map of on the artwork itself. So I think that once they get inside the booth, they kind of figure out what they are.
Because I think that if you take some of those comments that are positive, you can probably make it figure out to do the statement. We're not putting their maps in there, because I looking at it, looks really cool. But if I cannot see it that small. I'm assuming when you see it more bigger in person, it looks more impressive. But I just trying to figure out the statement because it's kind of, you have to explain too much. And I think from the other people, they say that they don't want to be thinking too much from other jurors that I heard before. From other people that I ask advice when I'm picking out my images, they just don't want to have to think because they only have just only like a 30 seconds when they're doing the jurors because the way they like do it, that's not how it really happens in the shows because they're going 500 people in one day, so it's a lot more quicker. So you have to think about that also. But
Totally.
you know, that's what I heard from other people that I know that do the juring, and those people are cutthroats. They are not nice. I'm not going to say names.
There's a lot to be said for not having, as a juror, to not have to stop and think about it. And if you normally put labels on them, I would love to see labels on them because then there's no thinking about it. You can enjoy it as the art piece that it is.
What
And they
about,
give
what
more
about,
details in the artist statement.
what about just a label on one of the four?
Then it would look sort of out of place if it's
Yeah.
just one.
Yeah, you have to do it all of them because now it will look weird.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I
I
know
think it-
someone in the comments mentioned having a compass rose on the piece. Would that make it easier to know that it's a map? And would you be open to designing a compass rose for him if that was a thing?
I don't know if that really answers it, you know? I mean, you still think
Mm.
about that, and then a second piece of artwork, if you will, next to that artwork, if he
I'm
designed that.
moving. I'm moving.
I think an interesting test would be do some ways of putting the label on, whether that's across the bottom in a bar or whether it's on the white space, and test for those that would allow you to send in two sets of work, you know, two different applications, put one in with the label and one without, and see what happens to the score.
Yeah. Good test.
And just do a
Totally.
test and do it with and they might not even be shows you want to do. I don't know. Pick shows that have clearly a digital jury done on a time schedule in the same room. Do one that has people score from home, you know, did online and they just do it from home or their office. Do one that's pretty and see what happens. Because this is a challenge. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens with that label. And the only way to do that is get a jury looking at it.
Yeah, I think that's I like
Maybe
that
do the
little A/B test kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's cheap research, right? There's a bunch of directors who all believe this is a great way to do research. Costs you somewhere around $35 to do that for one show. Well,
So,
$70
and
two
do you get
applications.
to actually find out your score? Is there do you ask the jury afterwards what your score was, or
Depends on the show, right? So
okay?
if
Mhm.
you were testing with us, for example, I can only speak for ArtFest, we would tell you the score. Particularly if you said to us, give us a call, say, I'm testing this, so I want to know what happens here. We would give you a score anyway, but we would absolutely tell you the score and on both versions. And if we had any comments, we would give them to you. We probably would not have any because we have a silent jury. So we probably don't. The only kind of comments we really ever get from our jurors, it was when they've written a note. It's usually about jewelry artists that they are suspected about the artist made the work. I mean, sorry, Bonnie, but you know that's a
I know.
so we'll once in a while get that comment that, oh, I don't know about this because looks like something I saw it wherever. But we don't usually get comments on other categories.
And another thing, if you in the Facebook group for our first review,
Mhm,
the without the S,
mhm.
post the image in there and ask what
And
they
ask.
think, because the people in there
Yeah.
are really, they have the top tier, I think, of the
Professional.
artists, and they will
Yeah.
tell you yes
And
or no what you
experience.
do and not to do.
Great.
Art fair review, not
Review.
art
Got it.
fair
No S.
reviews.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And be sure
No,
that those
what
comments, I think that's a good
basically
idea.
nothing that's not run by Mike Grosser is the
Right.
the one that you want to do.
Right. And I was gonna say, be sure that the comments that you get there, that's a great group, right? And the comments are usually really
Yeah.
great.
Mhm.
But trying to sift through that, none of those comments are biased based on what the commenter thinks a jury would say. Because there's lots of interesting information floating around.
And
It
most of
doesn't
it's wrong.
necessarily match
Yeah.
the jury's opinion. I'm trying to be polite and diplomatic.
That was very well done.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Or you can send it to specific people also if you know them personally.
Right,
And
right.
or you can I just post, when I post questions in there, I usually ask to a handful of people I know for sure.
Mhm.
They will give me an honest opinion. And
You-
they will tell you yes or no, what to do, not to do. On this, at least guide you. And then you have to make the final decision yourself.
You can always ask me. I'm in
Yeah.
that group. And
Yeah.
you can always ask me. I wear both hats.
Awesome.
Okay. Who else wants to ask questions about their presentation?
Or anything.
Yeah.
Hey, I'd like to make a comment to new people, if they're watching. I always think it's really funny that that people think, they get rejected. They were surprised that they get rejected from a show. They expect to get in. I think you get rejected more than you ever get in. So you just get used to that. Don't let it get in the way.
Artist statement and describing the work is important. Thanks.
I think Ian has a bad connection and
Mhm.
he's still
Yeah.
trying to talk.
Well, I think following up on Barry's comment, and if you do get rejected, I mean, one way of looking at that is you're applying to plenty of shows and you're not going to get into them all. But the other way is call up the directors or the artist person for that show and see what you can find out from them. Ask them about that. I know there are many shows that will talk about that. I know us specifically will do that. We'll give you our opinion about why the score was what it was. It's usually the boost slide. And sometimes it's just the luck of the draw that
That's right.
we don't have anything to say, right? I mean, it could have been you, it could have been the other clay guy. We got no reason or suspicion.
Well,
But sometimes we do share that.
a show like Cherry Creek, let's say, top of the heap, they might have 1,000 people or 1,200 people applying, but there's only 250 spaces.
Right.
So we're talking about 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10 get into a show. That means 9 rejections and 1 acceptance. And and there might be 300 people that deserve, or let's say 500 people that deserve to get in, the quality level, because the better people apply to that show because the income's really good. So you could be as good as anybody else that's applying and not get in. It's a coin flip, like Jared said. you know, it's the luck of the draw. And next year, it's a different jury. So, you know, a different set of choices. I always say just keep applying. I love it. You know, I love it when people say, "Oh, I applied to that show for 10 years and never got in, and I'm never applying again." And to myself, I'm going, "Great, that's one less person to compete with." You know.
But I have a question on Zap. On their form, they have a space for jurors to write comments on every person's work that they see. Why is it that more show promoters don't say, look, just write something in it briefly, what was either the most positive thing you saw, the most negative thing you saw? And if it was the booth slide, why not make that comment so that if enough people feed that back to an artist, then the artist has a chance to change something to produce a different outcome the next time. Without feedback, you have no idea why you were rejected. You can assume it was your booth slide, you can assume it was whatever, but you don't know.
If I'm not mistaken, you can't see the comments.
Yeah, I've
No.
never seen them.
You cannot.
You can't see them.
But then the show director would have that information. And if an artist took your suggestion and called up and said, can you tell me what happened? They could look at the comments and they could go, oh, well, this is what they said. Or you could do something along the lines, I think, of possibly of if you send out a PDF like Des Moines does sometimes, with your scores by each juror, and then include the comments that were put in there so that the artist can learn something. Otherwise, we just it's that definition of insane. You keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, but you don't know if you changed anything important. You know, was it?
I sometimes jurors don't know why they don't like it. You know, they just might not know why.
But does that make a good juror? They can't.
Yes.
But you also forgot about something. Sorry.
I do a lot of jurying, and I will tell you that is very, very hard to stop and write. And I think I've told you this before, to stop and write a comment. It breaks the flow. I want to be able to go from image to image to image and then go on to the next one. If there's something egregious, I will stop the flow and I will write a comment. But then everybody has to wait for me because I'm writing my comment, even if it's short.
Talking in a group jury, or are you talking if you're working off your computer at home doing a Zap for a show?
Way. I don't like, but especially if I'm home, I don't like to break the flow. You get a certain flow going when you're jurying and it's hard to explain.
No, I understand it, but if
I want to give every single person the same amount of my attention and care that the last person and the next person gets.
But how do you feel about no feedback as to why something happened?
As an artist?
Yep, as an artist.
I don't care.
But what are you going to do different next time to try to improve your chances of getting into a show you really would like to get into, or that you were in before and did exceptionally well at, but you can't get past the jurors to get back into it?
I know the realities of the jury system. Sometimes I'll get in, sometimes I won't.
Right.
I've the wait list queen more times than I'd like to.
Yeah.
You know, it's the luck of this. So many times it's the luck of the draw. I will put out my best work and I will give them an honest booth image that looks exactly like my booth will look like at their show. And it's up to them whether they want me or not. But that I will do what I can honestly.
But if you got comments back, for example, and this is educational to me, not only for the artist, but it's also for the show director who chooses the jurors, that some juror didn't like the mix of horizontals or verticals, or you did 2 still lifes and 2 landscapes, they didn't like that mix. Isn't that important for the
they're not going to say that.
That's not going to be the comment.
No.
So I think the most valuable way for artists to learn how to modify their submission, right, is things like this, and going to the festivals who do put on a preview day or whatever they call it, where you can come and watch what that juror is going to see the next day. Different people have different names for that. Come and see those. And my experience, we've done that forever. My experience is that what artists learn from that is invaluable. And they really don't need too much comment from us over and above what we might have made in the room to know what to do. It is somewhat self-obvious when you start looking at, I think, a whole bunch of submissions at the same time. At least that's been our experience. The artists either walk out of the room saying, I got this. I'm even up with anybody else who's here. Or, yeah, can I have my images back? Because I didn't send them in. I mean, they're like, can I withdraw them? I'm like, really? So no, it's fine. You're probably right. You're not going to get in. But no, you can't have it back. But they learn that. And the next round, next year they come in looking so different. We have so many examples of that, of artists coming back around the following year that then got in with got scored with no problem to get in. And the other thing I think that is think about, right, is that the shows all say, well, we're going to have 200 artists, and some show gets 1,000 applications, or they get 500 applications, whatever. But we're going to take the top 200 or the top so many in a category. And so it's easy to think that that's clear, right? That the scores go 30, 29, whatever, we cut at 25. Well, there's a whole bunch of artists sitting on that line with the same score, right?
Mhm.
It's not clear. You don't count down
Mhm.
and be, oh, here's the 26 and here's the 25 and there's my cut line.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but most of the time, there's a whole bunch of artists sitting on that line with the same score. So then it's how to pick of those that are on that line.
That's the hard job.
That's the hard job, right? And that comes down a lot of times to the booth.
I'm trying to get it onto here.
But just know that it's not right. It's not like I got a 26 and you got a 25, so I got in. We might have both got 26s.
It's interesting because we just juried the little show that I run not that long ago, and someone I think he got waitlisted, and he was saying, he contacted me and he said, I don't understand why, I can't get into the show. And so I went back and looked at his history, and he's right. He's never gotten in. He's gotten waitlisted or he's gotten rejected. He has sent the same images.
Well, there you go.
No, but that shows that some jurors like them, some jurors don't, right? Then that's sort of normal, but sometimes you get close with the same images. So it's like, what do you change for the?
But what?
Did you tell him, Bonnie?
Yes.
What did you say?
But the thing is, if you've used them, say, twice and you've gotten rejected both times.
Because you have different jurors every year according to the show promoter.
Yeah, but doesn't your
Wouldn't
work
you-
get better? You would shoot every year because your work's getting better.
And change it.
Ron, let me just tell you this. The reason why I did the mock jury with Larry last time, because I was not getting into some shows that I really want to do. And I wanted to try a different set of images, but I want to test which set works before I waste my money and jury fees, because I wasn't sure. So you need to change your images here and there. I don't agree with that idea that you use the same images over and over and over and get the show. Sooner or later, you're going to start getting rejected. If you get a constant rejection from a show, and Will Absalom told me this, there's something wrong with your work. If you don't get in, you get into some shows and not to another one, You have to look what you're doing, and you have to change every single image.
Well, I do, but if you're telling me that there's no artist out there that use the same images from one year to the next, get into the show one year and not the next, that's jury. That's not imagery.
Yeah, that's different. But if you don't get to a set of show after 3 years using the same images, maybe you should change the images.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Yeah.
I'd be checking your work, because if you're not changing your work in 3 years, you've got bigger problems than
ordered a new car.
just
You-
not
you're
doing
kind
shows.
of going down the path of justifying why Winter Park, for example, says that your images have to be within the last.
Okay, I
year.
had a hard time hearing you because there's so much other talking going on in the back.
Try again.
Okay. Now
Yeah.
it's quiet.
Because it's kind of, then maybe more shows should be like Winter Park and say, because Winter Park, your images have to be taken within the last 2 or 3 years. And they can also see on Zap, if you try to cheat that, they will see that, wow, that image was uploaded a few years ago. And yeah, so maybe
That before.
Would you say what? I didn't hear that, Bonnie.
They don't have access to your other images when they look on Zap.
No, but you can look at,
You can look at
When-
what your
when-
own show applications.
yeah, you can see what
every
year.
time you've applied to the show, what you've submitted.
Right.
I always look back at my prior applications for a show I'm applying to a second year in a row. I look a couple of years back on Zap to make sure that I'm not exactly replicating what I did a prior year.
Good.
Larry asked me to ask this out loud, and I'm sorry, I'm multitasking at the day job too, so I'm off camera.
You're
I'm interested in hearing from anybody who's juried shows at all about what kinds of things you've been given before you go into the jurying cycle, because I feel like a lot of times those tiebreaker moments are about some guidance that you might have been given by the show about we're aiming for this feel or this vibe, or we're known in this community for our X factor in the show. How does that influence the tie-breaking process, if at all?
I can tell you what I've been told over the many years. Very little. We want you to give us the best show you can. Don't worry about, how many jewelers you pick or, anything like that. They will do the final count. Pick the best people you can.
So the final selection is still done post jurying with the
Well,
results. They're still picking through to cap everything.
Could be.
No, because they will take all of our scores and add them together to get the final numbers. And then
Gotcha. But is that saying that if they basically just score everybody and then they go back and sort of filter it out later, if you had painters that did landscapes and painters that did still life, and you had too many painters, you had hit your fill of painters that did landscapes, but you had some of those landscape painters with higher scores than people that did still lifes, that the still life people with a lower score would be in the show, just for those kinds of criteria.
That
That was
depends.
where I was headed with it, Ron. Yeah,
Sharon,
that was what I was thinking as well.
Yeah,
As the
And I think
guidance.
it's a great question you're asking. I really do, because now you're introducing another variable, which is limits on each category or each style or each
Yeah,
type in the category.
Let Sharon answer.
That depends entirely on the festival. That's part of what I was trying to be diplomatic earlier about making sure the feedback you're getting is accurate and not part of other mythology. That depends entirely on the show. Maybe there are shows who do that and say, I want, of my 20 painters, I want 10 to be abstract and 10 to be realistic. Maybe there are. I don't know of any, but maybe there are. I don't know everybody. I can tell you that in our case, we don't do that. It runs on score, and we don't say, well, I want, of my ceramic guys, I want 5 functionals, 2 raku, and I don't know, 10 to hang on walls. I mean, we don't do any of that. but I would, if you think a festival is doing that and it's important to you, call them up and ask them. You know,
No, it's
Barry's,
great to know. It's great to know that you're not actually doing it. So I've seen it more on shows where they have the same recurring jury each time, where they've got a style that they're going after, but it may be, again, as you say, it may be myth drawn based on what they end up picking.
yeah,
Yeah.
that really clarify it. And if a show is that they want to have, you know, whatever the feel is, you know, it's a seashore thing and they want it to all look like boats and marinas. Cool. I mean, that's their definition, but at least that tells you that if you do something else, don't apply. I mean, you know?
Yeah, you got exactly to my end point, which is how do we feel that out enough to know that it's not worth applying?
It should be in the prospectus.
You know,
Yeah.
Barry's thing is read what they want in the artist description and then answer that. And mine is call the directors and ask them.
Okay, thank you.
Or they may have, in our case, it wouldn't be our director. In our case, it would be our artist liaison person, but depending on the size of the show, they'll have one or the other.
I'll put my 2 cents in here, that I just want to be part of a quality show. And they can put the quality show together any way they want, as long as they're incredibly transparent about how they do it. If the director wants to reserve 12 spots to balance the show after jurying, let me know that. Just let me know what the rules of engagement are. And once you've stated them, follow.
Yep.
And that's really what it comes down to. I just don't, you know, the subterfuge, all of the crazy stuff that goes on in some of the shows, and usually the shows aren't the best shows anyway, and I'll run away before I apply. The main thing, transparency, I need to know how it works out, and I'm okay with it. I mean, because I can't do all the shows I apply to. It's a very competitive business. Need enough of them to make a year work, and let the chips fall where they may.
But
But if you have questions, do call the show. I appreciate that people call me with their questions. I would rather answer them than to have them try to get the information from, you know, Joe the plumber down the street. I mean, I want the correct information out there.
Sharon, I will tell you there are shows, because I have been told flat out, I do black and white photography. There is a show I've gotten into once. Every single time I've applied, and we're talking like 6, 7, 8 times, I've been waitlisted. And I finally sent an email and asked, and I was told, basically, we want to limit the number of photographers showing black and white in our show.
And so now you know, and that's
now I know, and I don't apply there anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's their right to decide how they want to do that. You know, we can have a rule that since Barry's here, that we don't want, we're not going to take raku pottery. We don't like that kind of pottery. Oh. I mean,
that's okay.
But to me, the same thing then is
you can see
that's not.
Sharon, you can say that because that isn't true. So it's great.
Well, I guess the thing that bothered me the most is, you know, they take my money for 8 years and then I have to call and ask to find this out. You know, it's not in the prospectus.
No, like Jay said, it's not transparent. Why not be transparent and just say,
if you're automatically being rejected for judging, then they should let you know. They're just stealing your money. That's not right. That probably isn't even legal.
But the biggest tragedy.
Did anybody see the comment that David put up, who took over Art in the High Desert? He put a comment up in one of the forums yesterday, day before, and then Chris responded to that about now that watching on the other side and experiencing Zap from the other side, what's coming in and how you deal with the images and artist statements and whatever, how eye-opening that has been for him. So sometimes it's not that the show's intention not being apparent. Maybe it is, but could also be it just didn't occur to them. I think Jay's probably still on this call. I talked to Jay after our last jury, and about his images, which are awesome, beautiful booth, right? I said to him, I can't believe you don't get into everything you apply for. I mean, these are gorgeous. And he said, yeah, except for not Art Fest 2 years ago. I'm like, oh, damn.
Well,
So
you know,
times, you know, it's like, really?
see, the way, you know, the way I look at it is I don't really want the feedback from the show, because not only is the jury on every show different, but the same show, it's a different jury every year. And it's a matter of, so it, you know, if you don't get in, Zoom, next year you get in, you know, you kind of try and hope that the percentages are high, you know, like 50% or 75. Well, actually, I'd like 100% all the shows I want to do, but you know, you know, on the best shows, I probably do 20%. And I'm okay with that, because it's better than 0%.
But as Sharon said, if I understood her correctly earlier, that if the major reason that a lot of people don't get into a show is your jury slide, your booth slide, why not feed that back to artists so they can go, wow, I need to set my booth up again. I need to do something different, and then try, because if that's the stumbling block to getting either waitlisted and called off the wait list for a show or get into the show. Because really, to me, what gets lost in this is our role as an artist, is our goal to appease jurors, or
It looks like
find
Einstein.
our public? And then when we find our public, be able to be in front of our public more often. Not necessarily all the time, but more often. Where does the public fit into this?
Okay, why don't you get a group of friends together and all post your booth images and pick them apart. Get everybody else's opinion. We are all too close to our own personal images and booth images.
I agree, but throw this into the mix. How many artists look at how, when you see examples of a booth slide where you see 3 slides, say with 2-dimensional work, you see 3 sides to your booth and you see some big images on each wall, just a few pieces. How many people actually hang their booth that way? So if the booth slide is supposed to represent what your booth is going to look like to the public, your booth slide isn't accurate. It isn't on.
I agree.
Who's going to know that? Are we supposed to do one to create a booth slide just for the jurors, so the jurors go, oh, that looks really good, and then hope that that gets you in the show, and then your booth slide when the promoter walks by isn't going to look anything like that. And is the
Have
promoter
you heard anything in all of our talks? Have you heard anything that I've said? Because I'm the one with the loudest mouth saying, I want to see what your booth is going to look like at the show.
And
I don't want to see anything else.
That's right. You don't want it to be made up just to satisfy a jury.
No.
And I'm the second loudest.
That's what I want to see. As a juror, I can pick out those manufactured booths easier than whatever. And I hate it.
Well, there are many shows that actually have a committee that comes around and confirms that the booths are as you presented them.
Yes.
I mean, they have printouts of your booth and they check it off. That's one of their jobs. My contention is with the booth slide I put in, if I want to present my work in the best possible light to a jury, why wouldn't I want to do the same thing to a show, to the crowd?
Yes.
And so
Thank you,
see
Jay.
if the show is absolutely the booth I jury in with.
Thank you.
I've always said that the booth slide should be what you're taken at a show. Exactly how it's set up. That's the only, any other booth
cup and all
should be eliminated.
Yeah.
My chair is always in my booth image. I do take down my charge card square sign, but my chair is there. I take my name out of the booth, but make sure that my banners are straight. But other than that, that is my booth image. Larry did have to do something to my Ann Arbor booth because I took it in Ann Arbor one year because I totally missed it when I took it. But other than that, it's my same booth.
But see,
But
not
Jay,
to identify. Yeah.
Let me finish.
Uh-huh.
Jay, your booth is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Bonnie.
Okay, you've got me riled up.
I think it was
So go
called
on.
Desert X.
Desert X.
They had different art displays throughout the entire valley.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Zoom
So
use.
with the app, you would go to the
Please, Zoom.
specific.
Please mute yourself. Thank you. Okay, Ron.
Okay, but for example, and not critical of this, but Amy just sent out an email, and it was her top 10 tips for booth lives, one of which was putting a carpeting down in your booth. Why? And so this is a promoter sending this out to artists. Where do they come from to think that that's representative of how people are going to show their booth at a show? Because most people I know don't put carpets down.
Well, number one,
Jurors don't like carpet.
no.
But see,
And
then if jurors are doing that and the promoter's saying something different, what does an artist do? Satisfied?
And I think that's dependent on show too, because I know that there are some shows in Washington that if you don't have the floor covered, because our convention center is a concrete floor and it's ugly, so they actually request that you, well, I guess it's not really a request, they require you to put down a foam carpet. So like you've got the foam tile floor or carpet or rug or something like that, but that's also like, for those ones, that's like the big,
Yeah, but that's an indoor show.
convention center-y ones.
That's right.
Right.
They're a little more commercially.
Indoor
and less,
setup's a little
us.
different than
That's right.
outdoor
Yeah,
setup.
her shows are outdoors.
Right. And
Okay,
most
but the thing with what she doesn't seem to realize is that not all artists have good liability insurance. So don't be recommending carpet unless you are guaranteeing the liability coverage.
good
And,
point.
and number two, in a booth image, it's one of my pet peeves because the first thing in that booth image that my eye goes towards is that nicely patterned carpet.
Yeah, but Bonnie, one of the
Drives
things that I know from Amy, she doesn't recommend you to use a carpet with pottery. She wanted plain carpet. And the reason why she tell people to put the carpet is because she's been getting shots that people have like a mix of floors, like a concrete, grass, or asphalt and concrete. So it just looks more uniform. And yes, I agree with the liability issue. It's something that you shouldn't be using anyhow if you don't have it.
Okay,
You know,
But
wait
I
a
could-
second. So now they're jurying on the floor and not the tent?
I could-
it's all in. It's just
Great point,
some of
Larry.
the tips.
Does it
It's-
make, I saw the same email and it didn't make sense to me either.
Good.
Larry, can you send it to me?
Yeah,
Thanks.
Yeah.
I could care less as a juror what is on your floor.
But see, the frustrating thing, among the many frustrating things, is we're trying to find our markets where the people that are brought to the show will fall in love with our work, will buy it, and then that's the mission that we're on, is to find our market. Now, if we start cutting out shows because of silly rules, we start cutting out a lot of our ability to be successful as artists. We're restricted to the ones then that are left with still a lot of uncertainty as to why, what do I do for this show and this promoter? And what do I do for this show and this promoter? And it's just, you're spending your life as an artist trying to figure out the rules. And then when you go and you have a phenomenal show and that people love your work, who the heck is paying attention to the fact you just did that? Only the people that bought your work. That's the only people. And they're not going to count the next time you apply with the jury. None. It's a crazy business model. It really is.
But
And if
you
we can
you know, you
change-
can do a show great this year and then the next year stunk. So doesn't matter really. It's you know, I can tell you that from personal experience. I just finished one show this weekend that was horrible, and I did fabulous the year before. So you cannot go by that. You know, you
Well,
do You do your best, you apply with your best you can and see what the dominoes fall. You know, you put in too much, you know, sometimes it's not up to us. One of the things I realize more than anything else, it depends on who walks through the, you know, once you get to the show, it's up to the customers to decide what they're going to buy or not to buy. I know friends that do Cherry Creek and Seal Route. I know friends that do Fort Worth and Seal Route. You know, it doesn't mean anything, you know. And some years I got a friend that she did in Winter Park, $23,000, came the next year and she make only $2,000 and she was crying.
Right, but when you left, when that artist left after doing 23,000, the patrons, you can't, to me, it's hard to say that the patrons aren't going to come back looking for her work again the next year. Apparently,
but the next year she only do $2,000.
The next year she did, right, and then she. But
so it doesn't matter. You know, it's year to year, and everything changed. You know, things change every year. You kind of go by that. Honestly.
Florida's different because you could have lots of business from people that are just there for the week on vacation or 2 weeks, and they're not there. And next year it's a different group, and you know they're not buying your work. So that's a lot of it with Florida. You just kind of hope that your customer is there the week that you're there or that weekend.
Yeah.
You know. Hey, I have a comment about the insurance thing.
Yeah.
I think everybody should have to have full insurance for the year. That liability thing that ACT gives, that's a scam. I asked them, they've never had a claim on that. So they're basically, you have to have it just in case, but they've never had a claim, you know, on that insurance. So the best thing you can do is buy the full insurance and then remember to send it to the show, which I haven't I haven't done with Fort Myers. Okay, I'll do it as soon as I get off the phone, I promise.
Do you send it to the Grove also?
Oh, do we have to send it to the Grove?
Yeah.
I might have done that. But I'll do a 2-for-1.
I've read about a lot of people that have had claims with ACT, but no one has collected.
Really?
Yeah. I had my liability policy, because I'm a jeweler, they don't cover jewelry, but it was, I think, $850 a year, $875, something like that. And was I happy paying for it? Not really, but I knew I was covered should my canopy flip over into somebody else's booth. I wouldn't have to be buying all of Barry's pottery from him, or paying for all the shards that were left. And if I hit somebody in the head, I would not have to worry about losing my house. You know, it's just, I think it's the most important thing you can have.
Yeah.
I just last year my insurance company did something, I don't know, and so I had to seriously look at my insurance policy. And I'd been on a business policy for like $700 a year, and something changed, and I went through and realized that the valuation on what I had in my van was not going to cover anything. I went out, backed the van in the area between my studio and my house, set up a table, and I started pulling every single thing out of my van, with the exception of the individual pieces of art. I pulled every single thing out of my van, laid it on a table, photographed it, and then I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have like 10 pages where I went back through those photographs, listed everything in the photograph, put a replacement cost on it. Then I kind of added those up by section. Then that went into a spreadsheet and realized that had I lost my booth, I would have gotten 10 cents on the dollar from my insurance.
That because you have replacement costs instead of retail value?
No,
I-
because nothing was
I'm not talking about my art. I'm not talking about art.
No, I'm talking about your panels, your booth, your display, everything.
Everything.
Replacement cost versus retail cost. It's a big, big difference, because retail cost is they're going to pay you not because if it's used and you've had it for 10 years, that won't make a difference. If your artwork is destroyed, they're not going to pay you for your matting and your tape. They're going to pay you the retail value, because say a tornado came through and took your booth out. That retail value is what's going to provide you your ability to live and replace all of that material, all of your art during those months that you're going to be unemployed. And insurance companies, not necessarily all of them, but they do write retail value cost.
I had a choice. What I ran up against is if I simply couldn't afford to insure every single thing I own. I couldn't do it. My insurance went up to $900 a year. And that's pushing it for me. So what I chose to do on my artwork, and this is where the difference came in, I put a wholesale cost on my artwork, and it's listed in my insurance policy as a wholesale cost. That is, it's going to cover the cost of the frame, the materials to redo it, not a lot of my time, but I also have business interruption insurance. So should I lose my booth and I can't do shows that I have scheduled, then I have insurance to cover that. And that's why I have business insurance that includes liability and all the things that the shows need, but I have business insurance. As a photographer, I'm usually, when I'm out shooting, I usually have my laptop with me. So I've got cameras and a laptop in the car, or in a hotel room, and that's right for the picking. It's not as bad as a jeweler, but still I'm very conscientious about when I go out. So, I want to make sure all that stuff's covered.
Hey, does anybody else have any questions about their presentation? I guess not.
Got a question. Court, you post a comment in the live one that we didn't record about consistency through the images. That was one of the things that you guys was talking, that was mentioned, when Ian was doing his images, the first three look almost the same, and the last one, even it's the same thing, doesn't look like a part of the set. And that's a throw off. And that applies to me because my images is also they have the feeling, but not necessarily are exactly the same, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, that was brought up a couple of times, having a consistent body of work.
You should have done the mock jury, Oscar.
He did the first.
Trust me, I already get into good show. I don't need to do the mock jury yet.
Oh, we have another question. Blair.
At that ego, yeah, that's good.
Well, Oscar says that, but there was a time when Oscar was insecure and I had to school him on.
You don't have to school me. I just went to Carla Fox and asked her again.
Quick, ask your question.
All right, so another question that I had on my thing was, I do the Edmonds Arts Festival, and they saw these wood cutouts that I have my photography on, and Edmonds president, I don't know that she's on the jury, but she's the president of it, said that she wanted to see one of those pictures in my jury images, but I feel like that wouldn't really fit. So do you have to jury in twice that way, or because I don't want to break up the flow?
Well, the problem would be if you jury twice and they let you in with one body of work, technically you couldn't show the other body of work. So do you have enough of a body of work to do that? It's like a black and white, a photographer that does color in black and white. You could submit a color body of work and a black and white body of work. But if you only get juried in with one, you can't show the other in most shows. So as long as you have
You would-
enough, that if you did that, you'd have enough to show in the booth if they came around and got sticky. Do you?
I do, but it'd be kind of lame.
Okay.
Selling the photography always comes first in my mind, but
My-
the animals are definitely a smaller price point than 36 by 48 metal piece.
You
True.
would be better off not showing the other.
The small.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just
Yeah,
wanted to make sure.
don't muck up the good work by showing the low end.
Yeah.
Okay,
Would you,
They're really-
Bonnie, would
They're
you
really
say that
unique,
she
they're
shouldn't?
just different. It's not necessarily a lot lower end. It's just it's different. It's like a different skill set, I feel. So it has my photography on it. It's just a little different.
And so
I
Bonnie,
wish I
would
could
you,
show it, but I don't have one with me.
would you tell her that if she got into the show with her main body of work, she should or should not show the other work?
should not.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
if you didn't jury in with it, do not bring it and show it.
Okay.
Didn't we criticize, didn't we nix it last week? Didn't we nix that?
No,
Next
that
one.
was something else.
Is that somebody else, the stuff on the wood?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's something else.
Yeah, now there are some shows that allow 10% new work in your booth.
Mhm.
well, if she's already been called out on it,
See,
then
But they
definitely,
called out to say that I should have it because I asked them because it was a new product last year. I was like, "Can I have this in my booth?" And she was like, "Oh my God, these are amazing! You should definitely have it in your booth." She also considered it still photography, but I don't think every jury would because it's photography on wood and
Almost
also
like mixed media, right? More mixed
Yeah.
media.
Yeah, but the wood is just like paper or canvas or metal.
One sec, I've got one without the picture on it. So maybe that'll
oh,
help.
good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's so hard to tell without seeing it. Ian, you look totally different.
For me, yeah, out of the
yeah,
car.
I've been
and do a
watching
video
him the
message.
whole time. He's looked different like a bunch of different times.
So it's this little guy, but instead of just the brown on the outside, it's a zoom up of the star pictures. This one was just my little mess up demo guy because he doesn't have a stock layer. But so it's these, which is still like, in my opinion, more wood than it is photography, even if I have the photography as the top layer. But they're really cool and they sell really well, but I don't know where to land.
And Bonnie, why are you saying she shouldn't put, two of each, two of her landscape pictures and two of the wood? So they show the variety of what she
They don't
produces.
They don't fit together.
Yeah, and that's how I feel, is that it doesn't fit as a cohesive body of work.
Not at all.
But if you did
Okay.
jury with two bodies of work, two separate ones, and they
I-
juried you with both of them, then you could mix them, correct?
I don't know how to say
Yeah.
this delicately, but I would not even do those. I wouldn't even show those compared to your other work, which is really good.
Yeah,
I'd be, I wouldn't, let's
Embarrassed.
just say I would not even think about doing those, let alone do them, let alone show them, let alone attach my name to them.
you
Like,
could,
It shocked you
what's
that
the
I sell like
point?
20 grand in them.
What are you looking for, a $5 item or a $20 item?
I
Why?
sell them for 50.
Okay,
well, how about, can you do those like at a craft show? I
Oh
just,
yeah, I'm just saying that, like, Edmonds is one of the bigger art shows in Washington and they sell really, really well there. So it was just, they wanted me to also show it in my juried images, and I just didn't know that that would work for everywhere. But so far I've just sent them in afterwards being like, and I also have these items if I'm allowed to show them. And so far everyone says yes. So then I was wondering if it should be a
Oh,
juried
that
image or
would-
not.
okay, that would be a good way to do it. Because then they're not projected with your other images and they won't take away from your other images.
But if you're
You've
asking,
got such a strong group of images and they have such a voice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that injured by a lower end piece.
let
Okay.
me ask you this, if
Okay,
you
two
submitted a-
questions.
Okay,
Do you cut out the animals?
Yeah, we laser cut them. Well,
Okay.
I laser cut them and hand stain them.
Are they visible in your booth picture?
They're visible in the booth picture I mostly show people, not obviously in the last one because it was just my pictures,
Right.
and it didn't show my table.
Because there have been times I've had made suggestion to artists, if they have something in their booth picture that's not shown in their jury images, make an 11 by 14 print of your booth picture and carry it with you.
Okay, for like
In
evidence,
case you're
being like, see,
challenged.
it was over there.
Yeah,
Okay.
But if you submit an image
Oh,
after the jury is over, like if I was understanding it correctly, you would submit it to the promoter to say, I've got these two. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, so it's after they already accepted.
So the
me into
jury
show.
the jury that made the decision on whether your work gets in or not won't see those, right? Unless the
Oh, I don't
jury
know about
is
that.
the staff.
Don't do what Larry said. No, it's bad form. It's kind of underhanded, skirting the rules. It's just, I love Larry. You have to know that. But I don't agree with him.
Okay.
Bonnie,
If somebody pulled that on me, I'd say, well, I can't tell you what I'd say, but
That's
You
okay.
can.
Yeah.
We all speak French, come on. Spit it
it
out.
would not be polite.
Mhm.
so Bonnie, is there a
No.
parallel in your own medium that perhaps you can give to us? Because I find I run into a similar challenge with my low price point earrings and so on. I don't want to put those on my jury app, but they're still my bread and butter, which is what Curia is saying is important about these, is that they're a big seller.
Yeah.
How do we do justice to the conflict between
When you're doing
represent?
as a jeweler, when you're doing your jury images, make it a spread of what, well, like St. Louis wants an honest spread. They don't want your highest, showpieces. They want to see your lowest to highest. What I did for mine was I always put in one of the lower end pairs of earrings. And then my top end piece was not one of my high end pieces. It was just kind of, I don't know, middle of the ground. But I took pieces out of my cases.
But
as
isn't
my-
that what Curia is asking about, is that she's got these low end price points? Maybe I'm putting words
they-
into your mouth.
But
and-
they don't go with her other pieces. They're not just smaller versions.
So
It's a different style and a different technique.
It's a totally different medium.
It's wood.
As another jeweler, for instance, I make glass beads that I then make silver settings for them. And so my prices are $48 to usually to about $500. And I usually do kind of mid-price to top end as my jury shots. I never show my stud earrings, but I don't think I've ever had a question that I have $48 stud earrings, like a cheaper thing. It's always in my booth shot. I would never do a jury image of those $48 stud earrings, but
Why? Why
it's
not?
all the same technique. It's all the same materials, the same style. It's just a
Right.
cheaper, like a less expensive, less involved version of my jury.
Your
picture.
$100 ear.
Are you concerned
Yeah,
they're gonna jury you based on price point?
Pardon me?
Are you concerned they're gonna jury you based on price point?
More of the fancy stuff, right? Like, I mean, you want to show your fanciest work. So
Yeah,
I mean, I could imagine for jurying, like, I don't know much about jewelry, but like, I could imagine everybody can do a stud, but not everybody can do like the crazy pendant necklaces and stuff like that when you're doing wire wrapping. So, I mean,
But if the show
I can
rules
see that
say
you'd want to
you're-
show your better work.
but if the show rules say you're supposed to show the breadth of your work, are you showing the breadth of your work if you leave out? I thought Bonnie was saying that you should show sort of the range of what you do. Is that what you said?
If
Bonnie?
a show specifically says,
And she-
what is your price range? $48. And so I say $48 to 500. And
Mhm.
then if they specifically say, I want to see an image of kind of all your price points, yes, then I would, but typically they don't.
No.
Also, I feel like it just helps if I show like, that's the one with the stars on it. So it still shows the star pictures. I just don't have that one in person with me. So a picture of a picture is kind of hard, but it still shows my Milky Way stuff. Just so you know that it's not just wood, just to get that across.
I would do two applications.
It's kind of
I would do 2 applications
Yeah.
and be prepared to set up a double booth and ask for, I've seen this at shows. Not as much, I don't see it as often in what I consider like the national shows, the big shows, but regional shows, I see it on a regular basis. And a lot of times it's the husband and wife teams.
Mhm.
The husband does one thing, the wife does something else. They get in with 2 booths and they, you know, ask to be put next to each other. And they have the booths set up so that, you know, both of them can work both sides of the booth. But I would definitely.
But if you if you were a solo artist and you had both those bodies of work, you would have no problem then with both if you got juried in with both bodies of work, showing both bodies in the same booth. Would that be correct? Because
Yeah,
I'd be fine with it.
yeah.
Jury said, yeah, come on down with both of them. So how you
Exactly.
set up would be up to you. Which one you want to emphasize, et cetera, where you display, that should be your call, right?
Do 2 walls of your one and one full wall of the other.
Yeah.
And so far they're all like tabletop kind of guys, so they don't hang on a wall. So really it's just been one table with a few of the animals on it. So
Well,
for the shows alone.
stick some Velcro on the back and
You're gonna find, you know, it depends on how much time it takes to make them and, you know, your cost and everything else. But you're gonna find that those may be more profitable at certain shows than your photography.
And if you want to make maybe just a thought, a more maybe powerful presentation is get a carpeted pedestal and hang them on the pedestal so that it looks more, you know, it's more maybe a rotating one that you could put them in your booth and not be just a table laying on in your booth. Because in case jurors have a problem with
yeah.
Also, can you do them bigger?
Yeah, so I think the biggest we do right now is about 11 by 14 size.
Oh, wow.
So maybe that's the way to do it, and you know.
You're gonna have fun with this.
Yeah. Hey.
And you're
Now
gonna
that we-
reach a lot of people that like your work in different forms.
And do you have a question? A few seconds ago, you posted something.
What was that?
Yeah, if I did, but I didn't, if we're not wrapped up here.
Oh, don't worry, we can move on to your question. My question's answered. I got it.
Great.
A few times over.
I guess it applies to my work, but also would for landscape painter, photographer, etc. How much do you think it would make sense to like prioritize if I'm applying to a show in Arizona or the Northwest or Colorado, kind of varying what my application pieces are? Like, should I just go with what I think the strongest ones are no matter what? Or should I be like, okay, I'm in Florida, I need to be doing watershed maps of Florida, I wouldn't say really mountains, and like Colorado, I need to do more Colorado maps. Would that give you, do you think, a leg up? Would a jury like seeing more images of locally relevant things? Or they just like wherever, like, great, it's mountains, there aren't any mountains here, but they're great mountain pictures, if that makes sense.
You want to know my honest answer to that? If you do what you think is your best work and you put it where you definitely need something local in there, but you're gonna be focusing too much on that. You should just put what you think is the best work you can put out for the show. Don't go by, because that's the trap that all photographers fall by. They want to You know, I got photographer friend that only do Chicago stuff, and they can only do shows in Chicago because they never did anything outside or something generic. They can sell it anywhere. And when I mean generic, it's good work, but you can sell it any state, anytime. And if you go with that approach, then you can do all the shows across the country with no worry about that. Don't guarantee you're going to have to sell in every single one, but that's what you should be focusing on.
I disagree with Oscar a little bit. What I found, and I found out the hard way, and I got a reminder last year. There are shows that I call them destination shows, and that's why I don't do shows in Florida. And I've had people tell me I probably should, but at what I consider a destination show, you've got a high percentage of the buyers are tourists. They're not people that live there. They are looking for a certain kind of image, a piece of artwork that reminds them of the area. There are other shows that aren't tourist shows that people are just there to buy art, and it doesn't really matter if it's from the area or not. And I do horrible at those kind of destination shows because I don't have art that's beach or mountains.
And that, what you're describing is like if you're going to do sample Chicago, when people go to Chicago, they want stuff from Chicago in the downtown area. But if you go to the suburbs, you know, to do that. That's more about picking up what shows are better for you more than the type of work you're going to do. If you're going to, you know, there's a tourist area, it definitely has stuff from the area, you know. But if not, you know,
I have my work. I mean,
and pink flamingos don't look good in black and white. So
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
here's what it comes down to.
Unless you
I
shoot their
decided-
detail.
I decided a long time ago, and it was a kind of a awakening for me. And this goes to juries and everything else, that I was going to shoot what the hell I wanted to shoot and kind of screw everybody else. If I got into shows, I got into shows with it. Great. And what I literally found over the last few years, especially the year leading up to COVID, I got into my acceptance rate at the bigger shows. What I break them down national, regional, local. My acceptance rate at the bigger shows, the more competitive shows, was higher than it was at the regional, less competitive shows.
That makes sense.
And I've kind of carried that through. And last year I got a reminder that I'd kind of let my work get stale and I need to update some stuff. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm working on new jury images. I tend to go with I might switch out one image and I'll go about 2, maybe 3 years with a very similar, not the exact same set of images for juries, but very similar. And then I'll usually do a major overhaul.
I think you're absolutely right, Court. And this whole thing about faking it till you make it or whatever is a bunch of crap. The thing is, when I go to a show, the work that I am the most excited about is the work that sells first. And I think that also carries through to a jury. It might be a little more at a metaphysical level or something, but they can sense if application is stale. You got to feel good about it. And I think that's what you just explained with your experience.
Yeah.
Just putting my 2 cents in. I got accepted into shows in Colorado and Arizona this year, and I only have the Pacific Northwest. And I actually still sold perfectly fine in Arizona, even though I was like the only photographer there who didn't have a single saguaro shot. I was like, I got mountains and ocean. You guys don't have that, but here you go. And it was average for me. It did the same as my shows back home. So I would say still do it with the best work that you've got. And I find that the jurors from the Arizona shows at least said that it was nice to not see a saguaro. So I won't send them one because they see them out of every photographer who goes there. They're like, you're Arizona. Here's all of the pictures of your state that you live in. And they're like, cool, but I see saguaros all the time. Show me something else. So I think it was more of a breath of fresh air, especially when you do photography kind of stuff. Like, separating yourself by subject is kind of better.
Well, I think when
Totally.
Ian was asked, when Ian
point.
asked the question too, I think one of the interesting things, it's a challenge, I think, in Florida, is there's some shows like Winter Park that I think is away from the issue of being in Florida. People come and buy all different kinds of work at Winter Park. It really is one of the really strongest shows. But there are a lot of people that come to Florida, yes, they're down there on vacation. They want to get flamingos or beach chairs, whatever. But there's a lot of people that have moved down to Florida that are setting up second homes. They're from up north. On the east coast of Florida, it tends to be more mid-Atlantic, New England. On the west coast tends to be more Midwest. And they are looking often for big pieces, and they're looking for pieces that remind them of where they came from. So there is a lot of shows where you can get a lot of sales of your work, as Jay's saying. Just bring your work, that's your body of work that you're passionate about and good at creating, and you will have a chance to sell a lot of it to people in the markets, and you'll explore those markets over time. And some of them, like Court says, they're just not going to work. They're just not drawing enough of the right people, but there are others that will. And it may vary from year to year, but they do exist even in Florida. Like you're saying.
With Curry's pictures, a lot of those zonies come to San Diego. They pass through the mountains and to hit the beach. So if you have, something other than, like you said, the cactus, it's sort of like memories of last summer for them.
I did a show in Malibu simply because my parents lived in the area, and even though I was living in Kansas, I went out there and did a show. And I will tell you, I mean, when I do a show, I look at what sells, especially in the booths around me. I look at what's selling and what's not selling, and my black and white art from various places, the people with stuff that was local, kind of tourists, kind of beach related, was flying off the shelf. And it wasn't in any particular medium. It was just everything. If it was beach related, it was flying off the shelf.
Yeah, but then I've gone out and done Sausalito, and Sausalito, there's people from all over, not just the US, but the world, that come there and they buy all kinds of work of all the different artists. I know artists that zeroed at shows. They went to Sausalito and had phenomenal shows, selling big pieces, original work, ceramic artists doing great, glass artists doing great, because it's that market thing. It's a whole different marketplace. And even in Southern California, some of the shows down there, the same thing. It doesn't have to be California imagery. Now, yes, some places in Florida, you go down to the Florida Keys, forget it. If you don't have palm trees and flamingos, you're not going to sell squat. But
I don't agree with that, but
okay. You'd be one of the few exceptions that Oscar, you'd be one of, and if you do it every single year, that'd be great. So you're not saying it was just one year and the next year you went back and you had a really crappy show.
I've done well with I can tell you, Coconut Grove has always been good to me.
Well, Coconut Grove's not Key West. That's totally different.
Okay, back to Ian's question. What would you jury in with? Wasn't that the original question?
Your best work.
Yeah, but the best work. So if you have maybe swap something out, if you have like a piece that's more regional that you are also genuinely excited about, as think is strong work, but not to just go with works that you feel like are a little less quality just because they're regional.
Yeah,
that's kind of your advice, right? Or yeah.
Want to make sure that didn't get lost.
Yeah, thank you.
Plus, it would be kind of dangerous if you had all saguaro cactus shots and you threw in a shot of a couple beach chairs on a beach in Florida. It might look a little strange, right? The body of work would start to weaken, wouldn't it?
Probably not for my stuff, because it's a style that doesn't vary by geography in the same way photography would. I don't think. Like, I showed a map of the 4 maps I had were Crater Lake, Mount Rainier, the desert Southwest Canyonlands, and Red River Gorge, Kentucky. So it doesn't, I think I could swap pieces in fairly easily without them breaking continuity that way.
Yeah. No, with that kind of body of work, I would agree.
Yeah. But I hear for photography.
I know a photographer that told me that he always tried to include one bigger piece that was local, a local photograph in his booth everywhere he did a show. He's also the same photographer that I walked by the first year I met him at Brookside, and he made some comment about he's going to start jurying. He had color, very nice, beautiful color work. He was going to start jurying in with black and white because that seemed to be the end thing. And I saw him the next year in a booth, and he had all black and white, and I'd come in off the wait list, and he was embarrassed to see me.
But a lot of photographers in my career have taken that same stance, and it's been kind of sad, is that they kind of sell their soul to do black and white, at least for the jury process. And because the jurors, their view is that the jurors respond better to black and white than they do to color, and they get into shows.
And then there are the photographers that took their same color images and just made them black and white.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then there's people like me that have now, I mean, I showed color the first couple years, but I really quickly went to all black and white.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
most
think
of
I
my,
never see anything in your color.
what's that?
Never see any of your color work. I don't even recall you even doing color.
Well, this was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. When well, the first couple years I did shows, I did some color. I experimented with it, and
I
it
can't
didn't work.
imagine. I can't imagine you doing color.
The color work that I did was, in fact, I thought about marketing it, but I was going to market it under basically a pen name.
You could take it to the garage sale art fair.
I may still have some. I don't know if I still have any left.
Well, you should look. Oh. Oh.
You'll wonder why you get rejected.
He's never rejecting.
Yeah, I
That's
did.
good.
Yeah, I did, and my color work was very colorful and very abstract. Nothing like what I do in black and white.
Okay, any other questions? I'm fading, can you tell?
Yes.
No, you're not.
I'm
I had-
fading
You're
also.
fine. You got a sweater on, you're laying back.
I had PT right before this. They worked me hard.
Oh,
So
by the
did
way,
too.
Bonnie,
I shoveled snow to get to my outdoor kiln to fire pots
good.
today.
That sounds like a sort of PT, probably not as approved though.
Yeah, that's true.
It was good.
hey, Bonnie, Steve started walking yesterday without the cane.
I heard.
Well, that's cool.
I just can't believe how fast he's improving.
Recovering. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm really happy for him.
Yep. I think everyone is.
Mhm.
I hope so.
So,
Well, I unmuted for a second. Can y'all hear me?
yes.
No,
Okay, this is Jennifer, and I just wanted to thank y'all because I've learned so much over the last 2 weeks. And I just appreciated all the things that y'all had to say. And there's a lot of work to do. I've only done 3 shows and they were at the same place. But y'all have given me the confidence to try something new.
Bonnie,
So,
she's
I
the one
appreciate it.
that we redid her booth picture on Sunday.
I'm the pink carpet lady.
oh,
The roses?
oh,
Yeah.
listen, I don't
Oh.
pay people a whole lot of compliments, but your paintings are great.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
Your
That
booth
just
looked like
really
if we
boosted
were-
my ego.
now we were laughing because to me, if you had to judge the age of the person that did that based on the booth, I'd say you were 60 years old or 60,
Or 70.
you're 70,
Oh.
right? Thank you. I was going to say that. So,
But,
you got to be careful.
But
You isolate those pieces, and that's how you should sell them in your booth. Let people see them. Let them be dynamic.
it just that it was worth all the time you spent with Larry.
Yes, I think so.
because, wow, what a change.
Yeah, that new booth looks amazing. I'm looking at it now. Wow.
Wait, let's see it. I didn't see the new.
Can I hold it? I'll
Oh,
hold it up on my
Okay.
phone. Can you see it?
No.
Now,
Not really.
Oh, sorry.
Larry, can you put
Search
it up?
jury image.
I'm
yeah, let
sending
me
it in the
find
chat.
Oh, thank you.
Let's see.
It's uploading. I just grabbed it from the jury image Facebook page.
Hey, Bonnie, are you going to be around for other Tuesday?
Yes, I am.
I think, remind me, I think I set you up as host for that. I tried to do something the other night. You were gone and I couldn't do it because I think you have host privileges. I gave it to you for some reason to do something one night.
Okay. So what does that mean I have to do?
I think you just have to be there. And if when I click the button that says that asks you to change hosts, you'd have to say yes.
Okay.
Here, I'm gonna put it up now. Share screen.
Oh,
Sure.
that looks like more of a professional art booth, but the other looked like a nice comfy little shop to walk into and browse for 3 hours.
Okay, there.
Well, I did have, so let me tell you, this show was in Texas in September. It was 100 degrees, hotter in the booth. I had 2 fans going. It was brutal, but people came in and spent a lot of time, and I did okay. I was pretty happy. I sold 1 big painting and a couple of little ones, but you know, it was inviting and it was a crafts fair, so it wasn't like necessary that it need to be like really professional. But I don't feel like that was my target audience, because like most of my big stuff, you know, I don't want to charge $800 for something I spent a month on. So
Right.
Where in Texas?
well, I live in the Austin area, but this was in Ingram, which is a tiny little town, but it's the hill country and very beautiful. And there's some wealthy people in the area, but it was just a really casual fair. It was fun for sure.
There's
How
a
about
show in October in Granbury, which is just outside Fort Worth,
Okay.
that I've done a few times. And the only reason I've done it is I grew up in that area and my mom lives in that area. And it's Harvest Moon or something like that, but a lot of money in that area. It's around the town square. I think you might be worth your time to get to check it out.
Okay. Thank you. Because I have no idea where to apply. I don't know where I'm at. I feel like I'm in the learning stage still, trying to figure out
Well, you are.
you know, what my style is. So
How about
That's
the
okay.
armadillo?
I don't know. Austin scares me a little bit. It's so creative. It's so creative. And people are so outside the box there. And I feel like right now my artwork is very just representative. It's not creative. And I feel like that's what the Austin market is looking for.
Oh, but it's beautiful.
I wouldn't let that get in your way.
No.
I
Okay.
would, you know, kick it up a little bit and you know, I'd apply to Fort Worth Main Street. You might as well go for the top because your work's beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
is.
You know, that's kind of a good point. When I first started doing shows and didn't know what I was doing, I applied to all the best shows and I got into everything. I didn't know they were the top of the line, you know, but that's what I applied to. And you know, and then I worked my way down, you know, as opposed to the other way around.
To where you are now, right?
Sure,
You know,
you
there's
don't
a-
Yeah,
know
the
any
bottom
better.
feeder, except when I come
Hi,
to Bonnie's show.
I finally figured out how to turn on the video. So
Oh,
hi.
welcome.
There are a couple good
Thank
shows
you.
in If you want to go a little bit further, I've done shows in Tulsa and Oklahoma City that are both good shows. Your work, I think, would probably do well there.
Yeah.
Mayfest in Tulsa. There's the big downtown show in Oklahoma City, which is a killer because it's a week-long show. And
6
there's
days.
also another show in Oklahoma City you'd probably do well at called Paseo, and it's a Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
No. Oklahoma City is the one for her to do. And the 6-day thing, well, first of all, you don't use your own booth, which is great. So you don't have to set that up. And it's like doing 2-3 day shows without having to move. That's how I looked at it. And there's a real uniqueness to it.
I do like that idea.
Here's the thing. You're with other artists for 6 days. So you make some really good friends. It's kind of a communal thing. I always liked it. I don't go there anymore. I stopped doing it a couple of years ago, but because I don't particularly get along with the new director. But stop it. Oh,
Which show again? What show are you talking about, Barry?
Oklahoma City.
Oh.
Festival of the Arts.
Yeah, it's the last weekend in April.
Yeah, and
it's a weekend after Fort
Worth. You can do it back to back.
Yeah, except you know what? I go to this is crazy. We talk about how some places are really good for people and other people they'll go not that show. So I go, instead of going like the 200 miles up north to Oklahoma City, I go to Birmingham, Alabama, which a lot of people don't like that show. They've done it once, they hate it, but I do well there. So I'm driving 1,000 miles east after Fort Worth to go out there. Which, it's kind of crazy, but I do fine there. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. I guess one other worry I have is I don't have a ton of inventory. What you see is what I have, like in the booth there, that's not sold. Actually, I brought a couple that were sold. But what about prints? I guess I'll know on the applications if they allow prints, but should I be making like reproductions on canvas of some of my sold work and greeting cards and things like that? Should I invest in that if I get into a show?
Not greeting
No.
cards.
It depends on who you talk to. Me, no. Originals only. I know I'm going to get.
Well, but then you need to think your prices over.
No, it cheapens your work. That's if you're good, it cheapens your work. I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
If you're going to do reproductions, do something that's obviously a reproduction. That's a matted print or a print in a bag. Don't do a canvas that's kind of like a cheap knockoff version. That does cheapen it. But if you're going to do reproductions, say, hey, I know you can't afford the original painting, but here's a print of it. And there are, you can ask 100 artists this question, and half of them are going to tell you yes, do it, and half of them are going to tell you no, it's horrible. It's a horrible idea. It's up to you.
Okay.
I'm with Court.
Okay, that's great information because Bay Photo is having a big sale on doing canvas prints, and I was thinking about doing an order, but I'd really rather not because that's just
Yeah, do what you feel like. You don't want to do it, don't do it.
Okay.
What do you charge for one of your big roses?
They've been around 2,000.
Okay. Just wanting to
I think I think I have one for 2,900 on my website, but I haven't had anyone spend that. The most I've sold a painting for was 4,500 for a portrait. It was a full length portrait.
Yes.
Yeah.
You go, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your floral work is nice, but your other work really appeals to me.
Okay. That's good to hear. I love doing the flowers. They're just fun, but I do feel like I need to go back to that. I've had two really good paintings. I think there's one of a seasheller and then the one of the girl peeling the potatoes. And I'd like to get those set up, like get a model, photograph them and get those set up. So I think that's going to be my goal for
And
the
if
next
you
few
don't,
months.
if you don't,
Excellent.
we were talking about this earlier, and I have family in Texas. I lived in Texas. You know, doing some Texas themed paintings. They're more kind of Western, Texas style Western, which is kind of unique than anything else. Might be a good market if that's something you enjoy painting. I mean, don't do it just to do it, but you know, I did a small show in Fort Worth and I did some local stuff and it sold very well.
Okay. Yeah, everybody wants a blue bonnets, except I hate blue bonnets.
Pink cowboy boots
Okay.
to match Bonnie's glasses.
There you go.
Oh, I
I
have.
love those. I love those glasses.
Oh,
I don't know if it's on my
thank
web. I don't know if it's on my website or not. I think it might be, but I did a photo in a bar in the Stockyards in Fort Worth, where the bar stools are a pair of ladies' legs.
Oh, I've seen that picture
I'll have to check that out.
from the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Several people have, because I saw, or at least somebody with the same idea, they had a group of nuns sitting on top of the stool. So from the hips up, it was, you know, a habit with the, you know, wimple and everything, and then the legs below.
yeah, I've seen actually seen male versions of it with cowboy boots and blue jeans. I've seen different versions of this, the kind of the style of bar stool. So it, you know, it's basically from the butt down, it looks like, and they're not extremely realistic, but kind of from a distance, when you first glance at it, it's like, well, wait a second, what's going on here?
I love it. Yeah, I need to get bold and start asking people if I can photograph them.
Yes.
That is, yeah, that's a, I mean, I'm a photographer. I used to be a photojournalist, and you know, when I was working for newspapers, it was easy. Now it's, I don't know, it takes a lot to do that.
It's a good use for reproductions. So you can give them a print of the painting.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
great idea.
I did ask one family one time if I could take pictures of their kids, and that if I did it, I would send them a reproduction, and they gave me permission, but I haven't painted it yet.
Okay, kids, I'm bugging out.
Thank you
Okay,
so
Bonnie.
much.
If we're
See
done.
you later, Bonnie.
Take a nap, Bonnie. I'll see you
Bye.
later.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you for all the good
Bye, Bonnie.
information.
All right. I guess, guys,
That's
That's
it.
that's
See you
it
next
for
week.
today.
Okay,
Have a good one, Larry.
Thank
I'll talk to you all
you.
guys next week.
regular
Bye-bye.
time next time,
Hey,
or
Yes,
Jennifer, come
regular
back
time
next
next
week.
time. Court, you have a meeting tonight, right?
Yeah.
If I'm still awake.
Yeah. Anybody wants to show up, I do a Zoom tonight. Send me an email at, well, I'll put my email in the comments.
What's it about?
It's
a group of retired artists.
No, not retired. It's just a
old artist.
it's a
It's
group.
a bunch of, oh, well, I can't, never mind.
It's mostly older artists. We just kind of get together. It started when COVID started as a way. It was a way for us to get together and just kind of hang out. You know, when COVID hit, and it's just kind of kept going. We do every other Tuesday, 7:30 Central Time.
Oh,
So
7:30 Central Time.
Yep. Send me an email and I'll add you to the list. It grew out of a Facebook group of artists that had what is it, 10 years experience to get into this Facebook group. So
Cool.
everybody's welcome. And, you know, half the time it's people catching up with what's going on in their lives. The other half is, you know, we talk about art and different things. So
Sounds awesome.
Hang out. You're welcome.
Thanks. I'll see if I can make it. I got to make some greeting cards for Barry first, though.
I'm getting ready to do a bunch of postcards, Barry.
Hey, you know what? You know what I do with those postcards? When I'm glazing pots, I stick them underneath the pot so that it doesn't stick to the carousel that I use to, you know. So I'll take anybody's postcards, but it's not going to be. They're not going to be used as postcards. They're going to be used as coasters, which I throw away as soon as I'm done doing it. But you know, whatever. Hey, you know what? My thing is this. All this stuff and all this analysis, who cares? I've done this my whole life. I've made my pots and I tried to make the best pieces I could and bring them and either explain what I'm doing or whatever. And if they like it, they like it. And if they don't, they don't. I'm not letting sales influence me, because, and in fact, my favorite line is, well, McDonald's sells 1 million hamburgers, but I don't want to make McDonald's. If I was in the food business, I certainly wouldn't be making, you know, I'd have a really nice restaurant, not McDonald's. That would be torturous. I might as well go work in a factory.
Yeah, once I made that decision to shoot what I want to shoot, I actually started getting in better shows. And it was a lot less stress in my life.
It shows. Cord, it shows the passion, the quality. I happen to really like black and white photography. I've liked it from the beginning. When I was at the local university as a grad student, I ended up running the gallery, and I hung Ansel Adams, and I've always liked it. You know, I started out doing photography, and we always did black and white. And I don't know why I switched, because what I do is a lot harder to sell than photography. So so I don't know why it changed, but it ended up changing. And well, I do know why, but we won't go into that. And so. But I get a kick out of photographers and the latest trends. You know, it went from, I'm a purist. I think that, you don't have to use film. I actually got off the film thing, but at first it was like digital, camera, digital photography. It was like shoot on film, print, get really good at printing, and then say what you want to say, and even now with photography, say something. Don't just shoot pretty pictures. Who gives a shit? I can do that with my phone. I don't need, I had this instructor that's, it would be like a general art class, and he'd go, okay, how many of your photographers, and people would raise their hands. And he'd go, does your work, are you going to show us what you did in your summer vacation? Or are you actually going to show us something real? And, there's things to be discovered. Come on, get out there and show us something new. All right, enough.
All right. All right.
Hey, I'm just feeling good because I'm firing pots in mid-30s, and I will for the whole week, like the next 10 days, it's supposed to be like this. Last year, there were 2 days at 20 degrees, and the rest was at 15 or single digits, and it was horrible. So I'm happy.
I got 60 here today, and I really needed to crawl under and finish fixing my van, but I didn't do it. Yeah. I have to do it tomorrow. It's going to get cold again.
Yeah, 60 would be nice.
Yeah, it hit 40 something, 41 today.
Yeah. I found out that the Ford 150 F-150 pickups and their E-Series vans have this unique little part in the back that runs the fuel pump. And when it dies, it dies. And when it dies, the whole vehicle dies.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Especially
it's
when you're in
not.
line at an art show with people backed up behind you, artists backed
Oh.
up behind you wanting to get in. And you're the
God,
first
that's-
person in line.
That's a nightmare. I hope that never happens to me.
Luckily, it was a spot where I was, and of course, like I always do, I made, when I pull in to stop, I stopped so that other traffic could get around me. It was in a parking lot. It was fine. People were able to go around me, but took me 6 hours just to figure out what it was. And it was a $70 part that took me 15, 20 minutes to replace.
At least it was replaceable.
Yeah. They hang this electronics control unit that's encased in plastic, and they hang it on the frame.
Yeah. Isn't that's so weird? Because where I live, it snows a lot and it's right on the bottom. I mean, come on. That's a really great design. That's what happens when you get it. You hire MBA students right out of college. They've gotten their MBA and they think they know everything. And of course, then they design these things without any kind of practical knowledge or experience.
It's either
like,
that
oh,
or they go work at Zap.
Well, this was
probably.
I bought this van used. It's a 15 passenger van, and it was used by an oil field crew. And so it had seen some off-road use, and I had to get in there and chip off mud to get the bolts off and to get the plug undone.
Hey. All right, guys, listen, I
So,
gotta go.
Yeah.
All
Me
right.
too. I'm gonna get Thai food.
All right.
See you
Bye.
guys later. Leave meeting.